Project-based learning, also known as PBL. So here are the five of the main characteristics of PBL. And this is, if I were to explain what PBL is, obviously the title is project-based learning, so it's pretty self-explanatory. But these 5 characteristics will give it a deeper meaning, and I'll be able to explain exactly what it is with these 5 characteristics. So we have rich inquiry, authenticity, autonomy, meaningful assessment, and craftsmanship. And these are not in any particular order. So rich inquiry. Students will organically cultivate deeper questions surrounding the project topic and begin to think in a profound manner instead of merely searching for a specific answer to a question. So I teach health education. A couple of our topics that come to mind that I teach in my classes. One is STIs, STDs, and the other would be drug abuse. So, for example, let's say that we're talking about what are STIs and how are they spread, or what are the effects of drug abuse, and what particular effects do specific drugs have on our brains or our bodies, in a developing brain, things like that. What PBL will do with this aspect of rich inquiry, instead of just looking for the answer to those questions. It will cultivate more questions and a deeper thinking into the topic. So, for example, how can I help prevent the spread of STIs, and why is that important? So that could be what we base a project off of. Or for drug abuse, how can I recognize the effects of drug abuse, and how can I help prevent drug abuse by spreading awareness of what these particular effects are, and you can see how rich inquiry factors in. The next characteristic is authenticity. Projects should give students real-world meaning and purpose in what they are studying. Connecting a project to an authentic problem or scenario will give the students motivation to complete something and do well other than just a grade in a class. So a lot of students, where they become disconnected in a class is that maybe the material is interesting, but there's no connection there because they're just searching for a grade. So they think, well, if I can just find the answer to this question and get my grade, why do I need to learn more about this topic? And a lot of times they're right. So taking the STI or drug abuse topics into consideration for authenticity, drug abuse is a real world problem. So if there are students or a student doing a project on how can I help prevent drug abuse, or how can I spread awareness, that's a real world problem. So that can connect our topic and make it authentic and give it purpose. The third characteristic is autonomy. Students will have the freedom to choose the direction of their project within reason. This will provide a more complete engagement in the material than a fully teacher-directed lesson. So giving students even a little bit of freedom or a little bit of choice will create this engagement in the material and motivate them to learn and to do well. It will also give them ownership of the project. And we all know, you think about a store. Who's going to work harder and work better, the owner of a store or just an employee? The answer is obvious. So autonomy is a very important characteristic of project-based learning. Meaningful assessment. Since the work is being done authentically, autonomously, and with rich inquiry, project-based learning will cultivate an assessment that has deeper meaning. Instead of focusing on what grade they will earn, students will direct more energy into the real-world purpose of their work. So this gives them a deeper purpose. It's more than just a grade. It may actually make a difference. So the results of their project may make a difference in the real world, and it will, in fact, to them, but it may have deeper implications. And having a purpose for your work, that's priceless. Craftsmanship. Students are creating something that has meaning and purpose to them. So obviously, if you're creating something, whether it's taking something that's already in existence and improving on it, or creating something from scratch, whether it's with your hands or whether it's a project in class. It will cause you to care more. You'll be more engaged. Obviously, the ownership aspect of it. And then you'll have a finished product at the end, whether it's a poster or a Google Slides presentation, whatever it is. You'll have a sense of purpose, engagement, motivation, and then you'll have a finished product. Benefits in language and literacy. So when I use PBL in my classes, and I do quite often, collaborating students will use communication skills as they work. Small groups are the best with PBL, in my opinion, in my subject matter. Students will work on their literacy skills without focusing on them. So they'll be writing, they'll be reading, they'll be communicating, and doing all of that without realizing it. And that's the goal with language and literacy. Research shows that people are intrinsically motivated by three things: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So being able to choose your path. If you choose your path, you're going to be motivated to whatever that goal is. You're going to be motivated to go after that goal more than if somebody chooses it for you. Mastery in whatever the topic, subject matter is. When you're doing a project, whether it's an individual project or a group project, you're going to want to master that. And then purpose. And project-based learning gives students a purpose instead of just a grade. All students will benefit from project-based learning because of this fact, including, so standard English learners obviously will benefit. English language learners will benefit because of all the communication and the language and literacy practice that they'll be getting. I put my learners, my ELLs and SELs in groups with bilingual students, or that if possible, and then I even allow them to use their primary language if necessary. And students struggling with language and literacy within any content area, all these students will benefit. There's really no downside. Implications in health education. Project-based learning can be used within the health education content area by giving students the opportunity to solve real-world problems that affect them personally. This will greatly help students to connect with topics that can have a real effect on them at some point in the future and at this very moment. Drug abuse, STIs, basic health and nutrition, you name it. There's so many, mental health, emotional health, so many different opportunities within the health education field. Frequently asked questions. How often can I use PBL in my classes? Great question. PBL can be used as frequently as seen fit in any particular class. Some subject matter may be more suitable for PBL than others. It remains up to the teacher as to how much would benefit their students. So health education, I think I can use it quite a bit. Other classes maybe not as much, but you can absolutely still implement PBL in whatever the subject matter. How can I expect to teach students if they are always working on a project? Great question. One huge advantage of PBL is that students will learn how to teach themselves using research methods and rich inquiry. PBL can also be used intermittently between lessons so that teachers can still use traditional teaching methods, mostly to supplement their lessons. So it is a win-win. The teacher, you're still hovering and answering questions and helping the students as they work on their projects, but it's not the 60-minute lecture, and students are learning better. Here are my references. I hope you enjoyed this narrative, and thank you.